at one point you will have to prioritize GMAT over your office work.
Yes.
I had to take leaves, I had to take work from home, and I had to lock myself in a room, leave up all the mobile entertainment, everything, Instagram, Netflix, and all. So, and I was dedicated to preparing for this exam and getting the score. For a lot of leadership positions, which we say around directors, VPs, etc. There is an unsaid rule that an MBA gives you an edge.
Yeah.
Maybe the job descriptions nowadays might not explicitly call out that, but if there is a competing candidate who has an MBA from a prestigious college, India or abroad, they definitely stand an edge in their profile. But my GMAT preparation wasn't very ideal or smooth as a lot of people usually have it. So
First of all, congratulations. And I would say, most prominently, I would say for two things. And because these two things might be much more recent, I would say congratulations on a very, I mean, look, you just graduated from ISB and also you got into Flipkart.
yeah,
First of all, congratulations on both of
yes,
those two things, because those two things seem
thank you.
different. And
Thank you
also,
so
you had a very
much.
good GMAT score, and that one of previous edition. It was a 710, and it was a
Yeah.
really good story. It was a turnaround of 30 days. That was amazing, and kudos to you for that. So definitely congratulations on the entire thing that you have had in a couple of, I would say, one and a
Thank
half.
you. Thank you so much.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Coming on to you, I mean, we can just start off a bit with little bit of your introduction. You can just tell a little bit about yourself, and also what led you to what led you to start with the GMAT journey, not GMAT journey. I would say just thinking about why did you want to do an MBA with regards to your
Hmm.
career journey.
Right, right, sure. After a little bit background about my education, I did my BTech from Tech Chandigarh. I'm a 2020 graduate. So I got a campus placement at American Express as an associate product manager. So I worked in Amex for around 3.5 years
Mhm.
as associate PM and senior associate PM. So while I was at Amex, life was going pretty well, but I was feeling that a couple of things in my mind. One was that I wanted to be versatile, as in I should be able to work in any other company, in any other field that I want to eventually, if I feel like. I shouldn't be stuck because of my either my skill set or my educational background. So that
Mhm.
was one. Second, what I was seeing around is that for a lot of leadership positions, which we say around directors, VPs, etc. There is an unsaid rule that an MBA gives you an edge.
Yeah.
Maybe the job descriptions nowadays might not explicitly call out that, but if there
Mhm.
is a competing candidate who has an MBA from a prestigious college, India or abroad, they definitely stand an edge in their
Mhm.
profile, and it is given, the required amount of preference compared to somebody who might have a great work ex but might not have, an MBA or a brand associated with their profile. So these were some of the things going around in my mind. And I thought that, it's the right time to do an MBA, given my work ex around 3.5 years. So I started, preparing for GMAT. But my GMAT preparation wasn't very ideal or smooth as a lot of people usually have it. So
Okay,
I
relief,
started
of
with the
course.
OG guide for the
Yeah.
classic edition. Yeah, I went to the nearest bookstore, bought it, and I was like, I'll do it end to end, cover to cover, and it should solve for the exam, right? So there
Mhm.
were a lot of blogs online, and a lot of people said that OG guide is sufficient and all of that. So I was doing that. I and especially the con part of it, it was pretty easy. So I was like, it's so as people say that maths is easier in GMAT, it's pretty easy, and I should be able to give the exam also.
Mhm.
So then I think gave a couple of official mocks, and they weren't pretty good in terms of the score. So then I thought that okay, so OG guide isn't giving the right reflection of the difficulty level of the exam that is there. So then
Mhm.
I thought that I need a proper coaching that covers the concepts end to end, and and then, equips me for the exam. So I started with one of the, online coaching that I just, searched and saw that, it was decent enough. So
Mhm.
it was in work also, it was a little bit lesser hectic phase during year end and stuff. So I thought that, okay, I have the time to do the preparation along with the work. So I took that course. It was pretty expensive. I spent
Okay.
around 3-4 months preparing that end to end. And then I again gave a couple of more official mocks and other mocks also, which were free by other portals online.
Mhm.
Um, the score wasn't, I would say it wasn't reaching 700 at that time. It was close to somewhere around 600, 650, and so. And it wasn't improving also with any other amount of preparation. So I thought maybe, it's time that I can maybe I've reached the threshold in terms of accuracy and score. So I should book the exam and give. So and I was targeting round one of ISB, but I hadn't kept that buffer that in case the exam doesn't go well, I should have a buffer to reattempt. So
Mhm.
that I didn't do. I had scheduled the exam for August end,
Okay.
and the deadline for round one was September first week.
Uh-huh.
So I think that was a big mistake. So I gave the exam, and I was shocked to see the scores, which was 560 for the first attempt. I think 560 or 570. And it was pretty different from the scores that I had gotten in official mocks. Official mocks are pretty decent, I would say 650 types it was coming. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, maybe 670, 690, somewhere around that in that range I was doing in mocks. So
Mhm.
again, it was a reality check that even those mocks or the other coaching material that I had followed, it wasn't the right reflection of the difficulty level of the exam at that time. And then after I gave that attempt, I got to know that okay, there has to be a 15-day gap between the next attempt, and that skips my
Uh-huh.
round one deadline. But that was the fact at that time. So I accepted that okay, round one is gone. But I thought that it's just a bad day that it was exam pressure or whatever, and maybe
Mhm.
if I fill those little bit of gaps that I could see, I'll be able to boost up my score at least to 650. So I booked the re-exam in about 15-20 days,
Minimum
whichever
possible.
was the next possible slot.
Yeah.
And I so in that duration of couple of weeks, I followed a YouTube channel only. So because I thought verbal was my weak point, so
Mhm.
I thought that I'll go through the concepts again. So there was a YouTube series on GMAT verbal. So I just followed that, filled some of the gaps, and did couple of mocks before doing the next attempt. But the score of the exam was same. It was 10 points lesser only. So around, I
Mhm.
think, 560. So
Mhm.
I didn't even, record that score because it didn't make sense to have a
Exactly.
10 point and lesser score. So I canceled that score. And now I had realized that it wasn't a bad day. There was a skill gap only in the complete
Mhm.
preparation. So I needed, so I had figured out like while I was going back from the exam center, it was 1 hour drive. I thought that okay, I had to restart. Like if I'm back to square one where I
Mhm.
started, like the GMAT prep from the OG guide, I'm at that point zero back. I have to restart and fill the gaps. So then I started searching for the coaching which can actually fill those gaps that I have and make me prepare for the exam holistically. And I actually have strongly felt always that Indian teachers are the best in terms of it, be it any school, college, or anything. And
Mhm.
it's a big irony that it's a foreign exam, but an Indian teacher has cracked it end to end. I don't think there is anybody in foreign who has even created the exam has cracked it so well as Sandeep sir has done. So I actually came across few of these similar interviews from students of top 1% on YouTube,
Yeah.
where they were sharing their experience that similarly, like in 1 month only, they were able to boost their scores. They were able to get into the colleges that they wanted, and even top international colleges as well. So I thought that okay, there are some testimonials. It looks a little bit credible, so let's give it a try. So I booked the a demo and mock test for the next day only
Mhm.
to see that where exactly do I stand. And the test gave its reality check that there were obvious mistakes that I was doing in both font and verbal, and And then when I saw the solutions of those that test, it told me that okay, there are certain tricks and methods that need to follow. And then if you are aware of that, you can easily score in the exam. It's not a not doable thing. I was just not aware of those methods and tips and tricks. So I was convinced after that mock that, this is a coaching that can actually fill those skill gaps in both quant and verbal. But I was now short on time. Now I had to go for round two. So I had 1 month for the exam, and then I kept 3 weeks for the application process. So the hard deadline was that in 1 month I have to crack the
Uh-huh.
exam with whatever score I wanted. So then I had to prioritize study. I would say I strongly recommend this to anybody who comes to me for advice that at one point you will have to prioritize GMAT over your office work.
Yes.
I had to take leaves, I had to take work from home, and I had to lock myself in a room, leave up all the mobile entertainment, everything, Instagram, Netflix, and all. So and I was dedicated to preparing for this exam and getting the score. Um, as I think a lot of students are also shared, and sir has also shared initially, that if you follow the Excel tracker that is shared end to end, it does the job for itself. You don't have to apply your brains as to how to plan your preparation. They have done it, and it
Mhm.
has worked for so many students. That skeleton fits everybody. So it makes sense to follow that blindly, and that's what I did. I watched all the videos. I had to take the self-paced course. I would have wanted to take the live course if I had 3 months, but I
Uh-huh.
had to pick up the self-paced one, and it worked for me. It wasn't in any way less in terms of
Mhm.
preparing. So I think that was there. I watched all the videos for concepts and did all the practice. So practice, as we know, in this case, is the key thing that works. If you actually make those number of questions, like 100, 200, 300 questions through your hands, through your eyes, you will
Mhm.
actually build that muscle which is needed for the exam in terms of both speed and accuracy. So I think that volume also helped me. And as sir says that these are real questions, so they actually reflect the difficulty level of the exam. I would say
Yeah.
that it's a higher only compared to the actual exam. This is what we were told also, that you will feel actual exam is easier once you grind yourself through, especially the mocks that are prepared and the 700 to 800 PDFs. Those two things are actually difficult, but it's needed to go through that grind to build the muscle, to build the comfort with the exam. And then the actual exam would be much easier. It would be much smoother. So I was once I had done all this preparation and I actually went to the exam and I was solving. So during those three hours only, you feel that okay, you have conquered it. You
Yeah.
are able to see those things which you
Yeah,
have
you can
studied. So
tell.
you are pretty sure while marking the answers, yeah,
Yes.
that this is going to be the right thing. And your speed, accuracy, all of it is on the track. And once I got the score, yeah, that was a pretty unbelievable moment that okay, I've actually gotten 710, which is
Mhm.
what, so 700 above is what I had targeted, because that was a safe threshold for ISB given my profile and my calculation at that time. So
Uh-huh.
I was pretty happy with the score and pretty confident also that it should be able to convert me with an admit. So I think that's how overall the journey had happened.
Perfect, perfect. That's an amazing journey, to be honest. Having that turnaround time within 30 months, going everything within a flow, that's perfect, actually. And so you actually got
Right.
the score how much time before your round two deadlines?
Right. So I think the exam was 7th November and the application deadline was 2nd December. So around
Okay.
1 month, a little less than 1 month, 3 weeks or so I
That
had kept for
that's really
application.
decent for one school, I think. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah,
Perfect, perfect. So when you
right.
actually joined Top 1% from that point of time, what do you, I mean, in the initial, some of the classes also, you must have just gotten a bit of acknowledgement that this is something that I was lacking on very, very heavily. What were those things?
True.
What, it was RC,
Yeah,
SQL, it
yeah.
was everything in random.
Correct. So overall, I had realized that verbal was my weak point, and I had to
Mhm.
significantly improve my score there. It was, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was B22 or something initially what I had gotten, pretty low from what actually has to happen. And also I realized that when sir told that for quant, you can afford only one or two wrong answers
Mhm.
in the complete quant section. So that also needed a boost, but verbal was pretty bad only. So then once I started one by one, all the three topics for verbal, RC, may I realized that, okay, the octave method that they have taught is actually a technique or a method to crack any RC. Before that, we were simply sitting on the passage, like reading it 2, 3 times before, going to the questions, and then also rereading, revisiting it multiple times. So one RC passage would take a lot of huge amount of time,
Mm.
and that then also it won't give the right accuracy. So I
Exactly.
think that was a pretty big gap. But when for stick to the techniques that were taught, I think it really helped in terms of improving the accuracy and speed also for the overall pa- the instrument. And then similarly, SC was one of the weak links that I had, and I had kind of made sure that all the methods and all the things that sir taught there for SC specifically, there were a lot of nuances there. So you had to make
Mm.
sure that you document them and revise them regularly, all the observations or all the kind of mistakes that you were making. So as sir also says that there is a pattern to mistakes that you make in both the sections, verbal and quant. So if you recognize that pattern through your error logs, if you maintain it regularly and then fix it, it's a mathematical thing that it will improve your score. So I think following that technique also really helped. And then quant is filled with those small tips that they have around different methods, different questions, different types of questions that really boost your score significantly, and it doesn't take time at all. So there are all
Mhm.
those small tips and tricks that we have to memorize. So I think overall that was the methods that were taught for both content verbal really helped.
Got it, got it. And in this 30-day
Yeah.
period specifically, how much number of hours you were giving? I mean, I'm pretty sure when you told me that job was definitely on the second, third, fourth, or last priority, but how much number of hours
Yeah.
generally you were giving on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I think on the days that I had taken off, which was around, I think, couple of weeks, I would give good 7, 8 hours per day.
Mhm.
Given whenever my concentration levels are best, so I would take certain breaks in between, but a good set in the morning and evening is what I would give. And when I had to start resume work, which was from work from home for some days, then I could give like around 3, 4 hours. That is what I suggest also to everybody who's preparing, that either you should block your hours in the morning if you have fresh
Mhm.
mind and if your office schedule permits that, or if you have an early start and you are able to afford hours in the night, and that gives you a good concentration level, make sure you do that in the night. But you should give like 3, 4 hours even if you're working or not working, to
Got it,
have
got it.
a decent preparation. Yeah, just weekends won't work. I don't think it would work.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, did you
Yeah.
get the chance to actually give a number of mocks because you were on a very short timeline. So were you
Yes,
able to
yes. So I
reflect
had
on?
kept some
Hmm.
time for, yeah, so I kept some time for mocks. I think last week of the preparation is what I
Hmm.
had kept for mocks and practice from 700 to 800 PDFs. And the mocks, I couldn't complete all of them, but I did, I think, 4, 5, 6 mocks. And again, they were difficult, but they, I think, really helped to get me comfortable with the exam.
I'm
So
glad.
yeah,
I'm
don't
glad.
skip the mocks or don't feel disheartened if they are difficult. Just go through them. I think I would suggest that to everybody.
Perfect, perfect.
Whatever
And
amount is
so
possible. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of your exam experience this time, was there any difference that you could see that suddenly the exam questions were much more easier, surprisingly this time?
Yeah, yeah. So exam experience was completely different compared to the earlier exams. I think the amount of confidence you have while marking a choice was very different this time. I knew for sure that I was marking the correct options, and I think that kind of reflects in the score as well. And secondly, the comfort that I had with even the toughest of the sections, like the difficult RC passages. And personally, I felt history was one of the difficult sections in RC, but I didn't feel that a hurdle this time when I was giving, because I had practiced enough of those questions that now
Mhm.
they weren't a hurdle for me. So I think the comfort overall, the speed with which you were solving, that was different this time. And it felt easier for sure.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah. Coming on
Yeah.
to your ISB journey, uh,
Yes.
can you talk about that? How was then? I mean, I'm pretty sure this and first year, the entire 1 year must have went by like anything,
Mhm.
probably in a flash. But if you could recall some of the
Yeah.
moments about it, how was the entire experience for you? I mean, I'm pretty sure
Right,
one
right.
word would
So
be
yeah,
rigorous. Apart from that, apart from the rigorous word, what would you come up with? Just about from your
true, true.
experience.
So yeah, as they say, ISB is transformative in in a span of 1 year. So it's pretty fast paced. I had expected it to be hectic, but I think it was more hectic than we had expected.
Uh-huh.
But I think one thing that came out overall was that they really teach you that you can extract so much out of a day of 24 hours that otherwise we don't do in our day-to-day life. So there are
Mhm.
so many things packed, they're going in parallel throughout the day and night, that you are actually able to do so much, and you realize the potential there. I think that was one overall takeaway from day one till I left. But
Mhm.
overall in ISB, I think there were so many things to learn apart from the classroom learnings and the lectures. There were company visits that we had where you can go visit their offices, meet people, work on their real-time problem statements during your
Mhm.
visit, and then present to their leadership. So we had gone to Microsoft, Amazon, Indigo, a couple of startups, and a lot of these offices, and we had seen them work, and we had also presented to their VPs, directors,
Mhm.
gotten their feedback. So I think that was pretty enriching experience. Apart from that, ISB gives you an opportunity to work with companies as part of the projects during your MBA because they don't have internships. So my project was with MasterCard. It went for 3-4 months. It was a great experience. I had to work on their real-time problem statement with my team, and eventually it turned up very well.
This was along with
And
the
then we
class
also
training.
participated in a lot.
This was along with the class
Yeah,
training.
yeah,
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it was completely remote, right?
yes, yes. Yeah, it was virtual. You could visit company in one of the term breaks,
Mm-hmm.
but overall it was virtual along with your MBA. That was there. And we also participated in a lot of case competitions conducted by different companies and other MBA colleges. So one of them was Make My Trip, in which I went till top 10 national teams.
Great.
Out of like 3,000 teams that participated. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty enriching experience overall. These are some of the practical learnings that they have, apart from the classroom teachings.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a good placement season where the I think the placement preparation was something that really developed my
Uh-huh.
skill for product management, which is one of the career paths that I have chosen for post ISB. So I think the preparation of that specific field along with your peers who are targeting similar roles really
Mm-hmm.
develops that muscle, and then giving those interviews and stuff really prepares you eventually also tomorrow to sit for more interviews post ISP. So I think that's holistically what experience was there, apart from all the parties, fun, sports,
Uh-huh.
etc. that keep
Of
on
course.
happening. Yeah.
Great, great. And
Mm.
ISB next year has already started, but there are a couple of other MBA programs that will be starting up later on this fall. So, just because you have just recently been through this entire experience, what advice would you give to the other people who are actually going to starting their MBA in the recent while, or maybe later on when they actually watch the video sometime later? Because you have gone through the experience,
Right,
was
right.
there something that you felt that maybe I could have done this, and maybe I would have managed this some things at least in the starting first month much more effectively?
True, true. So I think, yeah, retrospectively, I feel the most scarce resource in an MBA is the time. So
Hmm.
if the better you manage your time from the day one, you prioritize your things that you want to get out of that MBA, that 1 year or 2 year, whichever MBA you pick, the earlier you figure that out, it's the best for you so that you can accordingly plan your times, because you can't be involved in all the things. There would be, there is classroom learning, there are assignments, then there are parties, sports, club activities, different kinds of entrepreneurship events that keep on happening. There are professors whom you can work with, in whichever field you want. Then there are all these case competitions, and then there is placement preparation after a certain point of time. So there are so many things, and then socializing, a lot of all those things come into picture. So you can't do all of it. So the earlier you figure out what are your priorities, the best it is. That's one thing. And
Hmm.
I feel overall out of an MBA, network is one thing that will stay with you throughout your life. So the more amount of time you spend to build a real network, will help you eventually, even after your MBA. So I think spending that time initially, because initially people are very enthusiastic to meet
Yeah.
other people, to build those connections. So spending that time outside, your classrooms, to know people, to know their backgrounds, experiences, learn from them, and then build the real connect, not like a superficial one. That would be, I think, helpful eventually.
Of course, and I think people are experienced. They can tell if you are just doing it just for the sake of it, frankly.
Yeah, that's true.
Great.
Right.
Yeah. Camilla, it's been great knowing your journey. It was a really, really inspiring journey, to be honest. resilient and inspiring journey, and it's great that we are able to talk about this. I mean, it feels like it has been a lot of time, but frankly, it hasn't been a lot of time. I mean, it's just been less than 2 years. So, yeah, I
True.
think it must still feel
Yeah,
surreal that you can. I mean, you can actually narrate the entire thing that happened in those 3 to 4 months, very, very to the detail.
yeah,
So that maybe I can tell that it was very, very
true,
basic.
true.
Yeah, great, Camilla.
Definitely.
It was.
I'm glad if it helps more people.
Of course, of course. Yeah, Camilla, thank you for your time and
Yeah.
good luck for all your journey going forward. And yeah, we'll be in touch hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was pleasure talking to you.
Sure, sure, of course, likewise.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.